Today we're diving into Genesis chapter 3, the chapter that tells the story of the fall of man. It's a powerful chapter that shows us why our beautiful world isn't always so beautiful. So let's explore some important truths together. We all know our world has incredible beauty. Just think about those stunning mountains or the deep blue ocean that's still untouched by pollution. But we can't ignore the reality that something's gone wrong. It feels like things are getting worse every day, doesn't it? So who's to blame? Many people point fingers at others, or sometimes government. But the Bible reminds us that the problem is much deeper. It's us. So, how did we, created in God's image, end up in this mess? Let's start with our first seed truth. Satan is real and everywhere. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, we meet a strange creature called the serpent. Now, this serpent was not a snake slithering on the ground at that time, as most of us thought. It was actually a reptile, possibly possessed by Satan. What is the key takeaway? Satan doesn't want you to know he's real. He works behind the scenes, using different agents to influence us. Imagine this. In the Garden of Eden, every creature was a friend to Adam and Eve. The serpent wasn't scary. It was like a pet. It spoke to Eve, and she listened as if it were giving her friendly advice. Satan even disguises himself as an angel of light, so we need to stay alert. So how does Satan operate today? He might use your friends or even your favorite shows to deceive and corrupt you. Many people think he's just a fictional character, but he's very much at work in our lives. Now let's explore our second seed truth. Satan likes to defame God. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, the serpent asks Eve if she's really not allowed to eat from any tree. But that's not what God said. He only told them to avoid one specific tree. This tactic is still used today. Ever heard someone say, "You Christians can't do anything"? Sure, God has guidelines to protect us, but He also gives us so many good things to enjoy. Next, we have our third truth. Why did the serpent approach Eve? Well, there's a tendency for women to be more emotionally vulnerable, making them easier targets for flattery and deception. It's crucial for all of us, especially women, to be cautious of those who flatter. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 6 says that in the last days, many evil men will lead away many gullible women. Our fourth truth reminds us not to add or subtract from God's words. When Eve responds to the serpent, she exaggerates God's command by saying they can't even touch the tree. This shows us that when defending the truth, we must stick to what God says. People tend to add to God's words because they want to make their position stronger. So be careful. Defend the truth only with God's words. Do not add to it or subtract from it. Refer Deuteronomy 4:2. Let's move on to our fifth truth. Satan plants doubts in our minds. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 4, the serpent tells Eve she won't die if she eats the fruit. How often do we hear doubts like this today? We question God's word and wonder if it's really true. We must trust His word and stay firm in our faith. Our sixth truth teaches us that we want to make our own rules. Remember, only God can make the rules because we are only tenants in His land, and only the landlord can make the rules. In this case, the only rule God set was, do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Satan tells Eve that if she eats the fruit, she'll be wise like God. So, Eve was tempted by Satan's flattery, because she thought she could make her own rules and be more than what she was made to be. God knew we lacked the ability to discern good from evil. Even today, humans create flawed rules and laws, often riddled with loopholes and imperfections. And finally, our seventh truth warns us to beware of the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Eve saw the fruit as good for food, beautiful, and desirable for gaining wisdom. These desires can lead us astray. So let's be careful and mindful of what we allow into our lives. Let's break it down. Lust of the flesh is craving indulgence. If we are given the luxury to set our own rules, we will just want to sleep all day and just hang around idling, eat all we want to eat. have all the sex we desire. God created food, rest, and intimacy as blessings within boundaries set by God, but it's easy to fall into gluttony. Lust of the eyes keeps us wanting more of what we see, always needing the next sight, the next image, the next adventure. Unlike hunger, our eyes are never truly satisfied. Pride of life tempts us to chase status and success at any cost. Ambition is good, but we shouldn't pursue it by sabotaging others. Be content where God places you and live with integrity. So we've uncovered 7 seed truths from Genesis chapter 3. And as we wrap up, let's remember, we're not alone in our struggles. God reaches out to us, even when we mess up. He wants a relationship with us, and that's the true beauty of our faith.